Hello guys, this is the last Harbor Freight video of the year. Just wanted to get you guys some of the latest updates from this store before we go into 2023. So here we go. Alright, as I entered the store, first thing I noticed was on the right, you can see there is an as-is merchandise table. This isn't in all of the locations, but it is in this one. And this store actually has two of these tables. There's one to the right as you enter the store, but there's another as you leave. What they do is they drop the price, down on these products. They may have been something that was damaged box or returned. And so if you're looking for something, or if you pay attention to these tables, you might find something that you're looking for at half price. And so they usually give you about a week to see if there's a defect, and then you have to return it. But for a saw like this one on screen, $149, that's a pretty good deal for this sliding. I think it's a double bevel miter saw. So I always check that table at these stores. Usually has to be a big Harbor Freight store. And while we're in this section, if you guys just take a look at what's on screen for these discounts, I just want to mention Harbor Freight has a brand new woodworking vise that they just released in the past week. And it's a doll vise. It's made in the shape and model of the old record vices for woodworking. It looks fantastic. It's 7 inches. You cannot find woodworking vices of this style in any big box stores, and so I was really glad to see it. They didn't have it in stock, but what I will do is include a link in the description that you can go and take a look at it for yourself and order it online. But I was really excited to see that vice being, coming out from Harbor Freight. Just a place where you can apparently go get all sorts of woodworking tools from. More than you can at Home Depot, more than you can at Lowe's. So I was really appreciative of that. A couple of these pictures on screen or images are pretty good for this time of year. Generators and such, at discounted prices. All right, moving over to the compressors. I like these little Fortress compressors, small, probably would say not the quietest. That's kind of what I go for these days, but good prices on them. And I think they even have one of those on the discount bin. So here's your air nozzles. I mean, not air nozzles, your sprayers. I'm really going to try one of these new HV LP sprayers. I saw one for $16 that the people say give great results. I just want to test it out just to see if you can get something so cheap to do a good job, especially if it's something that if you're not spraying every day, it may be something that's good for you. And I'm hoping that be the case with me. $269 on these Avanti sprayers. For the big boys, you got some smaller options here. $149 and $119. If you catch this video in time, Harbor Freight has a 10% off everything in the store option. So if you get some big machinery, then that'd be a great deal. Nothing is excluded. But that was a real short sale, so based on when you're watching this, you probably didn't catch that, but no worries. They have deals and discounts all the time at Harbor Freight. If you download the app, they'll have them right away available for you and walk in the store. This store didn't even have a sales paper. They just said look at the app or look online for the discounts when I walked in, which is what they're trying to go to. Just looking at the vacuums over here to see kind of the quality that they've come to. Haven't seen a true, what you would call dust collector. But vacuums look pretty good, and then you saw the Cyclone there for $39 that we passed by. I looked at some of this paper, is really cheap. catching glue and paint spills. It is thin, but it gets the job done. Pretty cheap paper. I picked up this scraper that I'm about to show you. Last time I was out at Harbor Freight, and one of the things I didn't notice was that it had a couple of bits included, and then you can see how you can turn it on the end. So and then also with the little holes in the middle of it, give you a little bit more force. But you know, that $4.99 scraper is better than the $13 options that I've seen at at Home Depot, and I would even say it's a little bit sturdier. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big quality guy. You know, most of them are Milwaukee. I'm huge on the Milwaukee line. If it's Milwaukee, then I know it's quality. The buttons are going to be great. It's going to be ergonomically what I want to use. But coming to Harbor Freight has really shown me that you can get some quality stuff for a cheaper price on a lot of items. And so that's what I'm here to do, share that with you guys. Paintbrushes. I bought a couple of paintbrushes for over $20, just two. And then I come here and I see these paintbrushes going for $2 and $3. It's just amazing for what I'm doing with them. I could have just bought those. Sometimes these wooden clamps are hard to find that you see. $11. I can't remember the range on them, but those are pretty large. I still can't seem to find the big parallel clamps from Bremen at the store. When I look in this section, it'll be on the wall behind me or next to me. But right now they do have I think it's the Jorgensen at Lowe's for about the same price. So based on reviews, they're about the same quality. So either way, but after that sale goes off, then it'll be the Bremen that I'm looking at for parallel clamps. I've seen some people do some good things out of this number 33 bench plane that I'm looking at right now. But most of them turn into a scrubber. I think it's probably meant to be a smoothing plane, but you know, depending on the work you want to put into it, you can make it into what you want. Some of these clamps I'm looking at might eventually go to Inside Track Club because, you know, $5 a clamp on these, and then even more on some of the other products. One trip to the store and you've already paid for that Inside Track Club membership. And so something that I'll probably do for 2023. I was not a member right now at the time of this video, but I'm probably going to do that for 2023 as much as I'm stopping by. I like these new trigger clamps from Bremen. They do, there's a lot of plastic, but they feel pretty sturdy. And compared to my Bessie clamps, especially on the smaller ones, there's not much difference at all. But the price is a big difference between the two. So we all know you can never have too many clamps. So I don't think it'll hurt to add a couple of these and then use them and see how well they do. Because if you're doing cutting boards, if you're doing tabletops, into that stuff, you can just never have too many clamps. I use clamps not only to clamp sideways and horizontally, but I also to use with cawls to keep everything flat on the ends. You know, or some people like to use a lot of clamps where the ends, where the joints are. I just use cawls in those areas, but that takes several clamps to do that as well. Now this clamp, it feels as good as my Bessie clamp. I mean, I can't tell any difference. I do wish both the Bessie and this Bremen would have, as far as the jaws, I just would like to see those be a little bit more than just little plastic ends on them that can damage your work. But That's the way they're made these days. Never been a fan of um, the aluminum clamps, but I apologize for that. I'm trying to do some stuff one-handed here, but those aluminum clamps do make for a good base to sit stuff on, um, as long as you've made sure that it's flat and it's not going to bow your work. For something in Harbor Freight, they also package these with the printouts really nicely. I think those are nylon, not just paper. So they did a good job on that. In the comparison, these I wouldn't buy. These little gray and black trigger clamps. I think there's a little too much flex, so I wouldn't buy those. C clamps, can't complain. They have some huge options and really low price. And then you can even see the toggle clamps here. If you need a couple toggle clamps to make a jig or something, why not? They're right there. They're easy to get to. You don't have to wait for delivery. And they're cheap, or I would say inexpensive versus cheap, because the quality is fine. I'm interested in checking out some of these Hercules bits. They look great. They're carbide. You buy a bit, you want it to last forever. Most of my bits are Whiteside or Freud. A couple CMT. I know those, they're all going to be there. I don't have to worry about them unless I hit something metal. So, and for me, it's always been the case where I'd rather pay, 10, 15, 20 extra dollars and make sure I got a bit for life versus go buy a bit and continue replacing it. So, but I am going to take a shot at these and see what I can find out, on those Hercules bits. They seem well packaged and look like quality bits. So moving on to a couple clamps, and belt center 1 inch. I was really looking forward to seeing that new clamp in stock. They just didn't have it. It said in stock, and I guess that it just wasn't out yet because it's so new, but maybe it'll be out in the coming days. So check your local store. I don't know how good these are, but $21 for a tap and die set, can't beat it. Watching some reviews on some of the Pittsburgh tap and die sets, I think there was, a little play compared to some of the top of the line versions. But if you're making a stand, or if you're making something that doesn't have to be precise, $21, it's got a good range in it. I think it's a good secondary set, especially if you already have the main set. As far as gloves going for paints and stains, we all use these. I have switched to buying mine from Harbor Freight because I bought I think it was the 5 mil for $4. It was $4.99 when I purchased them, and I was paying over $20 for my gloves for about the same meal, and so felt the same. Definite switch. Of course, I was getting those from Granger, so you can understand why I was paying so much more. Really, really solid drill presses. As far as machinery goes, the drill press and the lathe, maybe some of their most competitive out of Harbor Freight. I haven't seen any complaints with the drill presses. They usually have all of the options that you would get in a major drill press, besides the Vega. I think it's the Vega. So Really good options on the drill presses. I do think they have cast iron fittings in some places, and I've seen at least one video where um, they talk about it cracking. And they send them a replacement. So that would be the only thing. Just checking again. I was looking around for that vise. They usually keep these vices locked down. I don't really particularly care for that small 6-inch vise. You can find that at Lowe's, their option. So I think it's a Jurgensen. So, but you can find that at Lowe's. It's just a little too small versus even the 7-inch record or the new doll that they just came out with. This looks a lot more substantial, and the body is able to hold so much more. Dust collection 169, 13-gallon. I've seen people do a lot of modifications to these dust collectors. I think these are great buys. So unless you're going high end, then probably go here for my dust collection as a beginner for sure. Router table with the router, 119. I looked at this router. You're probably going to see as I move around. Here's a bench top with lathe for $329. But I looked at that router, and I think it's a 1 3/4 horsepower. Just trying to see how the adjustment mechanisms work, and felt pretty good, felt substantial. They do have some shielding on top of it. So if you're looking for a basic router table, and then to come with a router, you pay that for more than a router. So I don't think you can lose with it if you're looking for a router table and you're trying to find something on Marketplace or you can't find it. Then just go get this one. These dovetail jigs, $39, and then they had the I think that was the Windsor. There was a Central Machinery for also $39. They work. I think they take a lot of fine tuning, but once you get them fine tuned, they work. So cheapest you'll find. Just showing you guys some of the sanding options, and then also you saw the Bauer planer, which I would actually put based on the features above the Porter cable and above the Craftsman. It's out there right now. So it means Harbor Freight is gonna have a lot of folks just say bad things because it's Harbor Freight, but I'd have to go back in the video, but I believe that Harbor Freight option, that Bauer option, has a more stable frame. I think it's a 2-bar system versus a 1-bar system on top. That alone makes it a lot more stable than just the now I know the Porter cable. I think the Craftsman is also a 1-bar system. That goes to the frame and the stability of the unit, and so that means it's more sturdily constructed. So that Bauer for sure is, at least in that regard, better than the others, and they're all straight blade systems, so they're going to cut fairly the same. That really depends more on your blade than anything else, and the horsepower, making sure it doesn't get bogged down. But the way that motor raises and lowers, and the frame of the body is the most important things, and I think that Bauer's are just a little bit better than those two. So looking at their miter saws and some of the other things that I hope you guys are able to pay attention to, you can see they have a wide selection. They probably have here, Harbor Freight, a bigger selection of woodworking tools than anywhere else. If you're in an area that doesn't have a Woodcraft, doesn't have a Rockler, doesn't have just some of the stores that are just specialized in woodworking, then Harbor Freight may be your place to go. Haven't heard anything but good reviews on this Hercules miter saw, slide miter saw. I usually look at the travel or to see how it swings and that one swings as good as any of the others, probably better than most. Besides the big DeWalt, and the Bosch for me is top of the line as far as what you're going to find in the store, as far as that travel on that arm swing, the way it is, just the smoothest that I've come across. The rigid should be kind of close with the articulating arm on it, but that Bosch is definitely best in class as far as that goes. I know the Makita's nice, but I'm just talking about the travel when you swing it down, if there's any play in it, you can usually feel the guard catch, and that's where you got movement. And so that Hercules is okay. I think $399 though, I probably will go with another version, and that will be my only thing. The cost $399 versus some of those others. They're just a little bit more. Just looking at some of the stands, I think this one's just $37, and there was one for $30 before that you can pretty much put anything on. Sanding and polishing. I think just in my experience using some of these, the pads are great. I don't know about the compounds though. Compounds don't seem to be as good as some of the other compounds I've come across. But the kits are so cheap, then you buy it for what you want, what you can get out of it. And if you don't have anything else, then use what you got. I bought this sanding block just to compare. It's just a cheap sanding block, $349, but all the other options are $10 plus. I just wanted to see. You could buy 4 or 5 of those sanding blocks, put different grits on each one of them, or color them, with a marker on the side or something to let you know, and be good to go. So I think it's a good option. It's just a block of rubber with the fold tabs, a couple pins on them to keep your sandpaper in place. But it feels fine. 8-inch grinders, buffers. You got your traditional grinders and all the accessories. Bandsaws, metal cutting, 1 horsepower, 7-inch by 12-inch. I think it's hydraulic. $1,300. I think out of these options, for me, I would definitely go with the Hercules. Looks better built than the others, and it's 8-inch. And then you got an optional stand, $64.